Hey there, tribe. It's Mars here. What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. It's 4th of January. Today is my youngest daughter's birthday. Today is a good day. It's been a great day. I hope you all are having a wonderful, 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 magnificent day. For those of you I see getting on the live stream, thank you for joining me. And if you would not mind, would you please share this video out and invite some other people in to join us? That would be awesome for me. I would really appreciate that. And if you happen to be catching the stream later on one of my social media sites, either like LinkedIn or my YouTube channel or my website, I totally appreciate you guys making that investment as well. Much, much appreciated, as always. So, I promised that I would do better about letting you know if you're a first-time visitor, a first-time viewer, letting you know kind of who I am, what I do, and then on the off chance that some of you follow me on a regular basis but don't really know what I do, I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that too. So my name is Marcy Batiste, and I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, and I am a trainer and a coach. And my specialty really is curing emotional bankruptcy. So I have a company called Bankable Success Advisors, and what Bankable Success is all about is being a leading recovery solutions provider. So we work with businesses on business contingency and business resumption planning, domestic violence, workplace violence training, that kind of stuff. And then on the personal side, I work with individuals to cure emotional bankruptcy. And what that looks like is really teaching individuals and businesses how they can better manage their personal, financial, and emotional investments so that they can better achieve the results that they want, either in their business or their relationships or just life in general. How do you find happiness? It comes from, managing your emotional investments, managing your financial investments, managing your time investments. And so that's what I specialize in, helping people optimize that. If you're going to make the investment anyway, my goal is that you get the most out of it. I want your return on investment to be substantial. So that's who I am. That's a little bit about what I do. And I'm super excited about 2018. Many of you may already know I've dedicated this whole next year of my life to working with 1,000 women to really, truly shift the atmosphere for them and really raise the bar on what their lives look like, what their relationships look like. I have some clients that want to start businesses, and we're getting ready to kick off on January 15th, the Raising the Bar 60-day laser coaching program. Got some phenomenal new clients in that group, and really just honing in and connecting with women on a really transformational level. I'm a firm believer that better is possible, and I'm a firm believer and I'm testimony to the fact that when you know better is possible and you have a plan for achieving better or more happiness or success or whatever the case may be, that you'll be willing to go for it. And so I just want to be part of the journey for 1,000 women. I want to be that change agent for them. I want to help them change the game and shift the atmosphere and raise the bar in their lives. And so that's what I'm excited about. And so to that, I kind of started I started some reading challenges back in November. It was my first one. I did 30 books in 30 days as part of the Leadership Mastermind. And then in December, I did 30 life lessons from my own book, Journey to Find Your Butterfly Potential. And like I said, 2018 is really, truly all about raising the bar. It's about raising the bar for my clients. When I get better, they get better. But it's about those connections, and it's about teaching the lessons, really raising the bar and putting myself out there, stretching myself to really, truly reach people in a whole new way and on a whole new level. And so I thought, well, I really enjoy the video teaching. I really enjoy reading. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to continue that, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So I upped the ante, so to speak. I changed the game. I raised the bar by doing 30 books in 30 weeks. So that's actually going to run me through, I think it was the end of July, the last when I was looking. So we're going to go all the way through the end of July. Every single week, I'm going to feature a new book, and every single day I will share a takeaway from that book. And so, because we're talking about raising the bar, I picked one of my very, very favorite books to kick this campaign off with. And it's called The Power of Full Engagement. The authors are Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz. And I picked this book because it was a game changer for me. It was a game changer when I went on my transformation journey to lose weight about 12 or 13 years ago. And then I picked it up again about 5 or 6 years ago after my incident of domestic violence. And I knew that the strategies in this book, when I implemented them, they were game changers for me. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to raise the bar for my clients, what's a good way, what's a good tool to offer out to you guys, and be able to share some of these strategies and share some of these game-changing techniques. And so this will be an integral part of the 60-day laser coaching program for raising the bar, because the principles in this book are they're basic, they're simple, they're understandable, and more importantly, they're so easy to implement. It just really takes a matter of you being willing to commit to the process. And so the Power of Full Engagement really goes on a premise that in order to achieve any kind of success, whether it's success in a career, success in a relationship, starting a business, whatever the case may be, maybe you want to learn to dance, I don't know, you want to learn to sing, whatever the case is, you got to be fully engaged in order to get the best results. And the problem is most of us don't know how to become fully engaged. And so, like I said, one of my things that I specialize in is trauma recovery and curing emotional bankruptcy. So when you hear things like trauma recovery, emotional bankruptcy, those are some big, heavy issues. And we're talking about dredging up memories and experiences from years and years and years ago oftentimes. And it's hard to stay fully engaged in trauma recovery if you don't have the tools. And so for me, this success tool here, this Power of Full Engagement, getting my clients fully engaged, making sure that I remain fully engaged. And it's a constant, like, it's not something that you're like, oh, I know how to be fully engaged and it automatically just happens. No, like, you have to work on it all the time. So for instance, full disclosure here, complete transparency, that's what I do. You guys know that. For me, I've gained 30 pounds over the last year and a half. And part of it was being in a relationship. So I was cooking all these big meals and everything. And then when I ended the relationship, it was just like, I don't want to cook at all. So now I'm eating, bad foods, or I'm skipping meals and things like that. And so I've gained weight. So I know for me, my raising the bar this year is on my fitness and my nutrition. But the Power of Full Engagement requires 3 things of you. It requires 1, that you be physically energized. Number 2, that you be emotionally connected. And number 3, that you're spiritually aligned. Well, I can tell you that I've not been physically energized, which means if I'm missing that one component, no matter if my emotional connections are straight, my spiritual alignment is straight, but if I don't have that physical energy, if I'm not doing the things to create the physical energy, I can't possibly be fully engaged in what I'm doing. And my clients and my business of trauma recovery requires that I'm fully engaged, that I'm an integral part of their journey and of the process and of the teaching and, being that resource and being that support system. So I was like, you know what, if we're going to raise this bar and we're going to really, truly aid and assist a transformational experience for 1,000 women, I got to be fully engaged. And so that means I got to do my part, just like I expect my clients to do their part. And so that was the other reason for me choosing this book. Like, I need to make sure that I'm exercising, I'm walking the talk, basically. It doesn't do no good to just talk the talk if you're not walking it. People see right through it. And that being unauthentic and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't work. In healing and trauma recovery, domestic violence work, self-esteem work, you have to be 100% authentic, and that's a foundation of trust. And so I was like, you know what, girl, you better get on your game. And so I decided that's why I'm going to choose this book. So for the last few days, today's the 4th, so I'm going on day 4 of sharing for this book. We got 3 days left after today. And, well, is it 3? Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday left after today. So, you know, driving home these main points of this book. And then, like I said, my clients go a lot deeper, and it's a deeper dive. But this is a powerful book, and the principles, for the most part, are pretty easy to comprehend, and they're easy to implement. So remember, powerful engagement requires 1, physically energized, 2, emotionally connected, and 3, spiritually aligned. So yesterday we talked about physically energizing. How do you stay physically motivated? We talk about things like eating right, drinking plenty of water, exercising, getting plenty of rest. The typical, right? But those are easy things to sacrifice when everything's going awry. It's easy to say, oh, I'm gonna work late, or I'm just gonna skip this meal, or blah 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 blah. But remember, when you do stuff like that, it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive to you being fully engaged. You not being fully engaged is counterproductive to you achieving your goal and your desired results. So powerful engagement is mandatory. So today we're going to talk about, I want to share about being emotionally connected. Like, what is that? I want to talk about understanding emotional intelligence. Like, what does that even mean? When you hear somebody say, oh, what's your emotional IQ, for instance? Like, what is all that? And so when we talk about emotional IQ and all that kind of stuff, really emotional intelligence is about being able to manage your emotions to the point of positivity, and understand and being able to differentiate the two between negative emotions and positive emotions. So a negative emotion, you have to kind of know what it stems from. Is it stemming from a negative experience? Like, is it fear? Is it frustration? Is it a traumatic experience? Is it, I'm just trying to think of other things. Disappointment, anger, things aren't going the way you want, somebody pisses you off, and you know that feeling, right? So you feel your heart rate kind of start to increase. You might start to perspire a little bit. Like, there's a physiological change in your body when you're experiencing negative emotions. You get that. I know for me, like, if I'm really upset, I get that lump in my throat and I feel like I want to cry. That's kind of, I know for me, that's my fight or flight reflex. And so I know that in that moment, that little snippet in that box, when I get that feeling, if someone has pushed me to that place or an experience has taken me there, I know, and I have had to train myself to recognize that that's a toxic emotional experience for me. That's a toxic place for me to be. And I know right then and there, I have to begin managing my emotions. So that might mean managing the conversation. It might mean removing myself from an environment. It might mean going for a walk, just doing an aha, just kind of close your eyes, decompress until you figure out the techniques that work for you in order to manage that back to a place of positivity. And the positivity doesn't mean, oh, all of a sudden I'm not pissed off anymore and all of a sudden I'm happy and everything's all gravy, it's all good. No, that's not what it means. It means that you are now reclaiming control over whatever that negative emotion is or was. And by doing so, you have the ability to redirect the feeling to a place of calmness, a place of power, and a place of control. I look at it like in the realm of like an argument. Let's say I don't argue. That's not who I am. I grew up in an abusive household where there was shouting and there was violence and things like that. And so for me, yelling and violence is a trigger for me just to shut down. But there's an emotional reflex that goes along with that. And so I had to learn to manage that emotional reflex in those situations. And so when someone wants to argue with me, I have certain things that I do that let me take back my power. So for instance, one of the things I'll do is I just don't respond. And literally, I call it the blank stare. But I'll literally, if we're engaged and you want to argue with me, and we go through the debate stage, and then emotions start to escalate, you're getting upset or I'm getting upset, I end all conversation. I just stop talking. And we'll literally do this. And just listen. And some people that pisses off even more. I will tell you that. But at that point, it's not about them. It's about me managing my emotions. It's about me managing my emotional powers and taking back control of that. So that's what that managing emotions, understanding your emotional IQ, making sure you know where it comes from. I was trying to think, what else? Emotional intelligence is just it's so powerful, because our emotions control so much of our lives until we learn to control the emotions. So, people are always like, oh, I just want to find somebody that's going to make me happy. No one is going to make you happy. Happiness is an internal job. It's an inside job. And happiness starts from managing emotions and taking back control of situations when you feel out of control. So when you get that, the heart rate's jumping and all that kind of stuff, then that's part of the emotional IQ. That's part of that emotional intelligence. That's managing your emotional investments. And so, like I said, that's one of the things I specialize in. Let's deal with the emotional bankruptcy by optimizing your emotional investments. Optimizing it means that you're no longer giving in to negative emotions, and you're no longer receiving and accepting emotional negativity back from other people. You change the relationships, you change the dynamic, you change the conversation, whatever the case may be, but you manage that emotional investment, and therefore you get a better return for your time, for your effort, for your investment. Well, some ways to do that, right? It might be you go for a walk. Like, one of the things for managing emotional investments is making sure that you schedule time for you and do something that you truly enjoy just because it's something you enjoy. It's not tied to or attached to anything else. It's not, oh, if I do this, I like doing this, but it's going to benefit me over here. That benefit me over here is a secondary thing. If it happens, cool. But if it doesn't, too bad. That's not what we're doing. We are truly managing our emotional reserves. And so I'm always, oftentimes you'll see me say, like, I'm at an event getting my cup refilled, right? There are things that I do, personal development things that I do, self-care things that I do that refill my cup simply because I enjoy them. So it might be gardening, it might be reading. For me, it's writing. I'm a writer. Now, you could say, well, that'd benefit you because you're a writer, so you could probably turn that into a book. Yeah, and I have. But I did it because what I was doing was something that I enjoyed. I didn't do it because this is my end goal to write a book. It just so happened that what I wrote, I was able to, when I look back, was like, dang, that's a good book. Like, that would make a great book. And it became Love Miscarriage, which was the book that I released last March. So that's an example of, I did it because it's what I truly enjoyed doing. But on the backside of it, hindsight, I look back and I created something out of something that I already enjoyed. It might be listening to music. It might be going to the theater, going to the museum. Find something that's going to refill your cup. It might be just listening to some gospel. It might be going dancing. It might be going painting. I know they have these paint and sip things. The girls all love that. Do something you love just because it's something you love, not because it's going to take you somewhere else. Hey, Terry. Hey, Helen. I see you guys. Thank you for joining in. So that's really what it's about. Find those things that you truly enjoy that are going to refill your cup. And then that helps balance that emotional reserve. So then when something comes along and it taxes you or it surprises you or it hits you in the middle of nowhere and you're just like, damn, what do I do? Now you have a plan. You have a course of action. You can start managing that and then recognizing, like I said, that emotional IQ is about recognizing where does the emotion come from? Is it from a negative place, fear, disappointment, anger, resentment, whatever the case may be. Terry, thank you for sharing that out. Recognize where it comes from. Recognize that it's negative and that it's toxic and that you need to begin damage control. And then you start doing the things that you've created that's going to help you manage. So, like I said, if for me in an argument, I just stop talking. I won't argue. I won't. Like, just stop, give them the blank stare. It pisses people off. I don't care. It is what it is. Don't watch TV either. Like, I know some people say, and I gotta get my phone charged, you guys, but some people say that that watching TV is like their thing. Watching TV is toxic. Like, I don't really know any other way to say it, but it's toxic, right? And depending on what you watch. And so for me, I know I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a lot of Super Soul Sunday. So even in my TV watching, when it's time to use it as an emotional tool, use it to manage emotions, then I do it in such a way, I'm selective about what I watch. I don't just randomly start watching TV and expect that it's going to be beneficial, because 9 out of 10 times TV's not. And then I have those, I have those moments too where I just want to watch trash TV. Like, I watch The Real Housewives. I ain't gonna lie. Because I like their drama. Their drama makes me not have to think about my drama at all. So, but that for me is doing it just because I'm not using that as an emotional recovery tool, if that makes sense. If I'm going to do something that's an emotional recovery tool, it's House Hunters International. It's the Travel Channel, because I love to travel. It's, like I said, Super Soul Sunday. Those are the kind of things that I watch. It's Oprah's Masterclass. And because I love people and I love people's stories. And so for me, hearing those stories and hearing how other people, hey Takira, hearing how other people have overcome obstacles, that's recovery for me. That's emotional reinvestment for me. So those are things that I do. And the thing about it is, when it comes to managing that emotional reserve and managing that emotional bank account, you have to make that a priority. You know, it's like when people talk about savings and they're like, oh, pay yourself first. Exact same concept. Pay yourself first, but you're paying yourself with emotion. You're paying yourself with peace and tranquility and things that are gonna fuel you up. Like I said, so then when the world comes for you, you have something to draw on. Because if you're emotionally drained, if you're emotionally bankrupt, there's nothing there to save you. There's nothing there to protect you. And so that emotional reserve serves as kind of like a source of armor, to ward off and help you rid yourself and your body and your mind of toxic things. And then, you know, vacating people, you have to sometimes just let people go and realize that we might have been friends for a really long time. We might have been married for a really long time. We might have history together. But when you're constantly exhausting my emotional bank account, then you mean no good to my soul. And so when you're no longer good to my soul or good for my soul, then it's time for me to cut it. And I shared a post the other day that said, cut the iffy ones off. Iffy people are emotionally exhausting. They're draining, because you never know where you fall, and you constantly teetering, and people, you've heard the saying, people walking on eggshells, right? That's what iffy people do. They have you walking on eggshells. That's toxic. That's a drain on your emotional bank account. Living in an environment like that on a continual basis forces you into emotional bankruptcy. And I know that for a fact because I lived it. I was married for 16 years and I was emotionally bankrupt We were together for 18, married for 16, and I was probably emotionally bankrupt for the last 15. And I'm not even going to lie about that. And I learned so much because in that state of emotional bankruptcy, I ballooned up like 400 pounds. I was 386 pounds at my highest point. I might have been a little bit higher than that, but by the time I first weighed myself at my peak, it was 386. And that's a cost of emotional bankruptcy. Drugs, alcohol abuse are costs of emotional bankruptcy. And this is an area of passion for me, especially with women, because of my history with domestic violence, growing up in a violent household, and then myself becoming victim in multiple relationships that were abusive. And so for me, this emotional piece is so critical to who you are and how you value yourself and how you show up for the world. And you can't possibly show up for the world in an amazing, great, fulfilling, healthy way when you're emotionally bankrupt. And so when I'm talking about that powerful engagement and that emotionally connected piece, that's step number 2. You can't possibly build the physical energy if you're emotionally empty and vacant, because it doesn't matter. You're like, you don't care about things the way that you would. And like I said, showing up for the world, when we talk about raising the bar for 2018, we talk about success, we talk about healing relationships and, love, life, relationships, and businesses. We want to raise the bar in all the areas, but it starts here because you are foundationally the driver for all those mechanisms. You're the engine for all those cars. And so you got to constantly make sure that you're fueled up, you're well serviced and things like that, so that you can be there for your family. So you can be there and be present in relationships, that you can drive the success and do the networking and, present your businesses and, get the promotion and all those kind of things. Those only happen when you're emotionally connected. You have a strong emotional IQ and you've developed strategies. You guys, I cannot tell you how important this is. You've developed strategies for managing that emotional bank account. And that's how you cure emotional bankruptcy. It's through management. It doesn't just happen. Nobody can come in and just fix it for you and say, oh, you know what? Here, let me give you a whole bunch of positivity. Let me give you a whole bunch of inspiration. Let me give you a whole bunch of motivation and everything's going to be fine. I wish it worked that way because I can motivate the hell out of somebody, but it doesn't work that way because that emotional bank account is just like your bank account and your ATM and your paycheck on the direct deposit. The direct deposit comes in, the bills come out pretty soon. You at the bottom, you ready to, the direct deposit comes back in, it goes back up. Same thing works with your emotions. The same exact thing happens. And so you constantly got to be direct depositing more positivity, more inspiration, more motivation, and then managing the levels once you build them up. So that's my message for tonight. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to expand your emotional capacity. So I told you, like, this emotional piece, I'm going to spend probably a couple days. So we'll probably talk about this Friday and Saturday is going to be about that. And then on Sunday, we'll talk, which is appropriate, we'll talk about spiritual alignment. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how to build that and expand your emotional capacity so that you make room to and develop those strategies for keeping that emotional bank account full. So thanks for joining me, guys. Hey, Donovan. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, if you're on here live, share it out. Let people know if you think the message is going to be helpful to someone. I'd appreciate it. And also, any feedback, I'm always open. My inbox is open 24 hours. And if you're catching it on a replay, either on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or my website, I appreciate you. But in the meantime and in between time, guys, I'm out. And thanks for living life on Mars. We'll talk soon.